What's up, y'all? I am going to read from the book that I read from in my last video. It's called Woke, an Anesthesiologist's View. And this guy, Dr. Seti, is basically talking about what it means to be woke from his point of view, from the point of view of somebody whose professional life is putting people to sleep. And I'm going to paraphrase a lot. I'm going to read, I'm going to quote verbatim at the end of this chapter, but I'm going to paraphrase basically what this chapter is about. So he gives basically the background of anesthesia, history and mystery of anesthesia, and basically he's laying out the two worldviews. One which is that consciousness is in the body and that you need to have a body in order to be conscious. He words it as the mechanistic nature of our model is well suited to most biological processes. However, with regard to consciousness, this model not only lends little understanding of what is happening, it also gives rise to a paradigm that is widely and tightly held, but in actuality cannot be applied to the full breadth of the human experience. We commonly believe that a properly functioning physical body is required for us to be aware. His emphasis. Although this may seem initially incontrovertible, upon closer examination, it becomes quite clear that this belief is actually an assumption that has massive implications. An assumption. You know how the Toltecs feel about those. To be more precise, how do we know that consciousness does not continue uninterrupted and only animate our physical bodies intermittently rather than the other way around, where the body intermittently gives rise to the awake state? Boom. He even says when we insist on having physical proof of something that transcends materialism before dropping our accepted paradigm about life and death, we run the risk of once again being left in the dark for a long while, maybe ages. But here's what I wanted to get to. The point here is that even if you do believe you are a transcendent being, how feasible is it to act in that manner while interacting with a society full of people who are trying to outmaneuver you for a bigger piece of the pie? From a purely practical standpoint, it is more sensible to play their game and protect and maximize what you have today so that you won't be left with little tomorrow. In this sense, we really don't have much of a choice in the matter as individuals. We are instead being pressured to assume a competitive posture because of our collective behavior as a society and species, or culture, if you recognize that the indigenous, which we almost wiped out, less than 0.1% of the global population, but it's not a species problem. It's a culture problem, but it's basically every culture that locks up the food. So it's East and West. It's damn near every culture that's not indigenous has a relationship with the land. Bias, if it does exist in our minds, will emerge when we instead answer the question, are we as individuals and a society exaggerating a self-serving and fear-based narrative? This line of inquiry leads us to assess the nature of the information we receive on a regular basis. Are we commonly exposed to stories of cooperation, moderation, and tolerance, or are we more often exposed to tragedy, fear, and the stories of those whose successes are measured in wealth, fame, and youthfulness? How does our media characterize those who eschew the pursuit of material things for internal balance and harmony? Granted, the Dalai Lama, for example, has been given international recognition, and many conspiracy theorists would say a CIA agent, and popularity for this kind of attitude. But how does that compare to the attention we give people who have outwitted their fellow human beings and ended up with more? Before we indict the media and the entertainment industry, we would be better served by asking ourselves why we are more interested in these narratives to begin with. After all, if we weren't intrigued by these kinds of stories, there would be little incentive for them to create content along these lines. I contend that our fascination with this kind of entertainment and news is inextricably tied to our level of understanding of the nature of who we really are. More importantly, the stories we are drawn to reinforce the belief that we have only one shot at happiness, and a winner-take-all attitude is not just excusable, but necessary. In this sense, the adversarial relationship we have with each other as individuals or societies gets perpetuated and simultaneously attributed to immutable human nature. Again, is it human nature, or is it just the nature of one viral, and I mean that in the parasitical way, one parasitical culture that grew out of control and swallowed up all of the indigenous cultures except for the ones that lived in environments that were too harsh for agriculture and animal husbandry. But I digress. Is this truly our nature, or are we missing something very big about ourselves? Moreover, are we constructing this idea of reality ourselves, or are we being nurtured into doing so? Are we forcibly but insidiously being kept in a different kind of dark age? If so, what would be the motive in constructing that kind of reality, and who would benefit? These are the questions the following chapters will seek to address. This is as far as I've made it. I'm reading this along with y'all because I picked up the book. I was like, it sounds dope. But, I would say 1 in 8 or 9 books are really fucking good as far as, I read a lot, and or I do my best to read a lot. But a lot of times I get 50 pages in and I'm like, this ain't doing it for me. But every now and then you find those gems. They're out there. There's some gems out there. That's why good people take the time to write a whole fucking book. It takes time to do this, And when it's done well, it's all, I love reading. I'm just defending a culture that's kind of against reading, but I digress. Woke.
Do you believe in repenting? What if the kingdom of heaven's within you? Do you think you would enter, huh? What do you know, huh? How do you know truth from the pit of your soul, or just cause somebody told you? Do you think about what you think about? Do you see yourself in the people that you hang around? Keep quiet, let me think aloud. Listen up, wanna break it down and question your perceptions. I'ma break it down and question your perceptions. Do you ever question your perceptions? Do you ever question it all? Yeah. What if your money was worthless? Then would you know what your worth is and reconsider living with a purpose? How would you determine what work is? Are you seeking what's easy to purchase, or is it deeper than what's on the surface? Do you question your perceptions? Ever so is real, huh? It ain't your politicians, nor your status. All of that is fiction, so it's real, huh? It ain't your entertainment, nor the industry. I heard it's filled with fake shit. And I need truth over everything, yeah. I need truth above all else. Cause I need truth over everything, yeah. Give me the truth, give me the truth, give me the truth, yeah.